The breaking point. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council shimmered under the light of 7 artificial suns, casting prismatic reflections across the assembled representatives of over 300 spacefaring civilizations. The massive chamber, carved from a single asteroid of pure crystallite, had witnessed 10,000 years of galactic politics, alliances formed and broken, wars declared and ended. Colonel Marcus Chen sat perfectly still at the human delegation's platform, his midnight blue uniform adorned only with a single silver pin, Earth's symbol in the Galactic Council. Unlike the other representatives with their elaborate garments and ceremonial attire, Marcus preferred simplicity. His weathered face betrayed nothing, but his dark eyes methodically tracked every movement across the chamber. The Council will now address Motion TR 7293 regarding implementation of safety protocols in developing sectors, announced High Chancellor Zix Van, her translucent tentacles waving gently from her elevated podium. The Coolary Administrator's multifaceted eyes swept across the chamber before settling on the human section. The Committee on Sustainable Development has completed its assessment of expansion activities in the Orion Spur. Marcus felt his jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. 3 years of representing humanity in this grand assembly had taught him to recognize the carefully choreographed dance that preceded every new restriction on Earth's activities. The pattern was becoming tiresomely familiar. On his wrist communicator, a message from Earth Command flashed briefly. Contingency status: yellow. Awaiting your assessment. The Coolary representative continued. Our findings indicate alarming rates of resource extraction and colonization by newer council members. These activities threaten the delicate balance of established trade routes and ecosystems. Marcus knew what came next. He had seen it happen to the Trilaxians and the Vorka, both species now effectively vassals of the Council's founding races, their once promising expansion reduced to a trickle under layers of protective oversight. We propose implementing Article 47 safety protocols across all developing sectors, with particular focus on human territories due to their exceptionally aggressive expansion rates. Zix Van concluded, her voice harmonious yet somehow cold. The Council recognizes Representative Drolkoth of the Medusan Confederation, the High Chancellor announced. The ancient Medusan rose on his gravity platform, his crystalline form catching the light. The committee's findings are concerning. The humans have established 17 new colonies in just 6 standard cycles, nearly triple the recommended rate for a species at their development stage. Their resource extraction methods, while admittedly efficient, lack the necessary safeguards. 6 years ago, Marcus thought bitterly. 6 years since humanity had been welcomed into the galactic community, our faster-than-light breakthrough earning us a place at this table. Admiral Coleridge's warning echoed in his mind. They'll smile and share just enough technology to make us dependent, then they'll put us in a box. The council chamber continued its ritual of manufactured consensus as one by one, representatives from the elder races voiced their concerns about human expansion. The outcome was predetermined. It always was. The younger races remained silent, knowing their turn would come if they dared speak against the council's will. Marcus opened a secure channel on his data tablet, reviewing the final authorization codes for Protocol Exodus. Earth had given diplomacy every possible chance, but the warnings from intelligence had proven correct. The council didn't want partners, they wanted subjects. The safety protocols will require council observers at all human mining operations, Zix Van was saying. Additionally, colonization permits will now require approval from the Sustainability Committee with a minimum processing period of 2 standard cycles. Marcus glanced at the silent representatives of the younger races, the Calaxians, the Turellians, the Vex Collective. There was sympathy in some of their eyes, resignation in others. They had all been through this before. Furthermore, continued the High Chancellor, to ensure compliance, all human vessels will be required to install council tracking beacons and submit to random inspections. That was the final line. The one Earth had stated clearly, repeatedly, would not be crossed. Marcus stood up slowly, breaking protocol. Representatives were required to signal for recognition before rising. The human delegation has not been recognized, Zix Vaughn said sharply, her tentacles stiffening in irritation. Without a word, Marcus removed his translator earpiece and placed it deliberately on the polished surface of his desk. He unfastened the silver earth pin from his uniform and set it down beside the translator. The chamber fell into confused silence as he turned and walked calmly toward the grand exit. Ambassador Chen, Zix Vaughn called out, actual emotion breaking through her usual controlled tone. This session is not concluded. Return to your station immediately. Marcus paused at the doorway, turning to face the assembly one last time. He made brief eye contact with Ambassador Krell of the Vex Collective. A pre-arranged signal. The insectoid gave an almost imperceptible nod in return. Then Marcus Chen, humanity's final representative to the Galactic Council, walked out. The chamber erupted into chaos behind him. Within 30 seconds of Marcus's departure, every human diplomatic terminal across Council space went dark simultaneously. In orbit above the Council capital, the human embassy ship's quantum engines flared to life, bypassing standard departure protocols. Similar scenes played out across 300 worlds as humanity executed the most coordinated diplomatic withdrawal in galactic history. Emergency alarms blared through the council chamber as the first reports started flooding in. Zix Vaughn's composed facade had completely disintegrated, her tentacles thrashing as she tried to restore order. "What do you mean all human diplomats are gone?" she demanded from her chief of staff. "Find them. Lock down their ships." But it was too late. The humans had planned this withdrawal with military precision, and the council's bureaucracy was too slow to react. In the council's monitoring center, senior analyst Varric stared in disbelief at the sensor readings. "Impossible," the Salaxian muttered, his scaled skin paling. "The human vessels are accelerating at 15,000 GSU in atmosphere. Their drives should be overloading." On the displays surrounding him, the distinctive silhouettes of human diplomatic ships were powering straight up through planetary atmospheres across council space, breaking every established protocol and several supposedly immutable laws of physics. "They're broadcasting something," his assistant reported. "It's going out on all frequencies, overriding our communication networks." The screens flickered, and Colonel Marcus Chen appeared, now seated at a desk with Earth's flag, not the Council-approved emblem, displayed prominently behind him. For 6 years, humanity has attempted to participate in good faith within the Galactic Council, he began, his words automatically translating into every known language. "We have followed your regulations, respected your traditions, and sought to be productive members of the galactic community." In the council chamber, representatives watched in stunned silence. "In return, we have faced increasing restrictions, condescension, and attempts to stifle our development." Marcus's expression hardened slightly. "We have concluded that the Council does not seek partners but subjects. Humanity will not be controlled." The broadcast continued, showing a montage of Council sessions over the past 6 years, every belittling speech about guiding younger species, every regulation that disproportionately affected Earth and its colonies, every trade agreement that subtly favored established powers. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all Council treaties, agreements, and protocols. We will establish and defend our own borders. To those species who genuinely wish for mutual respect and cooperation, our communication channels remain open. To the Council, farewell. The broadcast ended, leaving the chamber in shocked silence. "Get me Earth's leadership," Zix Vaughn demanded. "Now." But all diplomatic channels to Earth had already gone dark. Humanity's official communication networks disappeared one by one. Their embassy websites vanished. Their trade networks went offline. Throughout Council space, human ships were breaking orbit, moving with technologies that no one had realized they possessed. In his private chambers, Ambassador Krell of the Vex Collective carefully activated a secure communicator given to him by Marcus weeks earlier. Similar devices were being activated by representatives of 11 other younger species across the Council. This is how it begins, Krell clicked to himself, watching the human ships accelerate away from the capital world. Not with a war, but with a withdrawal. In the Council's Emergency Control Center, the first reports of the economic impact were already coming in. Human corporations were simultaneously withdrawing from thousands of ventures across Council space, triggering financial shockwaves in hundreds of markets. They've been planning this for years, senior analyst Varric realized, scanning through the data. They've positioned themselves at critical junctures in our economy. They could have crashed our entire financial system, but they're executing a controlled withdrawal instead. It's a message, his superior said quietly. They're showing us what they could have done. As the first day of humanity's withdrawal came to a close, the mighty Galactic Council faced a crisis unlike any in its 10,000-year history. The carefully maintained illusion of benevolent oversight had been shattered, not by violence or revolution, but by the simple act of a species choosing to walk away. And somewhere beyond Council space, humanity was waiting to see what would happen next. The revelation. Impossible. High Chancellor Zixfan's tentacles twisted in agitation as she stared at the holographic display. These energy readings must be inaccurate. 3 days had passed since humanity's withdrawal from the Council, and each hour brought new revelations that shook the foundations of galactic politics. The display showed massive energy signatures forming a perfect barrier around what had once been designated as human space, a region now 3 times larger than officially recorded. The readings are accurate, Chancellor, Senior Analyst Varric confirmed, his scaled fingers manipulating the display. The humans have established a quantum field barrier along their entire border. Our most advanced ships can't penetrate it. How? Demanded Councillor Dralkov, the ancient Medusan's crystalline form pulsing with angry light. Their technological assessment placed them at least 70 years from developing quantum field technology. Varric cleared his throat nervously. We've been analyzing their diplomatic vessel's departure recordings. It appears the humans have been misdirecting us regarding their technological capabilities. The Emergency Council chamber fell silent as Varric played the enhanced footage. The supposedly basic human diplomatic ships were transforming during their atmospheric exit, hidden components sliding into place, revealing sophisticated technology that no one had detected in 6 years of close observation. They showed us what they wanted us to see, Varric explained. The primitive plasma drives they demonstrated during first contact were likely theatrical props. The basic shields, the limited communication systems, all carefully constructed facades. And we believed it, Zixfan whispered. The meeting was interrupted by a priority alert. An aide rushed in, their expression grave. Chancellor, we're receiving reports of simultaneous diplomatic overtures from the humans to 37 younger Council species. On the massive display, dots of light representing new diplomatic connections spread across the galactic map like a constellation forming before their eyes. The Vex Collective has already announced a trade alliance with Earth, the aide continued. The Tyrellians, the Collections, and the Muro Federation are expected to follow within hours. Councillor Jurakel, the usually stoic representative of the archivists, finally spoke. This was never about leaving. This was about creating an alternative. In her private sanctuary, Zixfan faced the most difficult communication of her 500-year career. The Economic Oversight Committee's report lay before her, its conclusions unmistakable. Human corporations have withdrawn from 17,293 joint ventures across Council space. The report stated, estimated economic impact, 36% reduction in growth across affected sectors, critical technologies in water purification, atmospheric processing, and quantum communication, all sectors where human innovations had been integrated, are experiencing cascading failures. The Council had never considered humans essential to the galactic economy. No one had noticed how, piece by piece, human innovations had become fundamental components of critical systems. They didn't just plan a withdrawal, Zix realized. They planned a demonstration. The days that followed brought more disturbing discoveries. Council intelligence operatives found evidence of massive human installations in regions of space previously classified as uninhabitable. Orbital platforms that should have taken decades to construct were fully operational. Colony worlds with populations in the millions existed where Council records showed only automated mining operations. How did we miss this? Councillor Dralkoth demanded during the 7th emergency session. Intelligence Director Morax, whose career had previously been untouchable, looked visibly diminished. They compartmentalized information perfectly. The diplomatic corps showed us one face, while their true development proceeded elsewhere. When our inspection teams visited human facilities, there were always convenient technical issues that restricted access to certain areas. And we never questioned it, Zix added bitterly. The most shocking revelation came on the 10th day. Council deep space probes detected massive energy signatures at the edge of what was now being called Human Alliance space. The sensors showed what could only be described as a naval shipyard of unprecedented scale, vessels under construction that dwarfed the Council's largest dreadnoughts. Those aren't recent, Director Morax confirmed. Based on construction progress, they began building this fleet at least 4 years ago, almost immediately after joining the Council. They never trusted us, Councillor Jurakel observed. Would you? Replied Ambassador Krell of the Vex Collective, who had requested special audience. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. The Vex remember how the Council guided our development. 3 centuries of protective oversight that left us dependent on Council technology and markets. Krell moved to the central display, bringing up trade data. The humans offered us something you never did. Partnership without domination. Equal exchange without oversight. Protection without control. The chamber erupted in outrage, but Krell continued undeterred. 12 species have already joined what they're calling the Alliance of Independent Species. More will follow. In the days that followed, the Council attempted to reassert control through the only means left, military intimidation. The enforcement fleet, comprising 200 of the Council's most powerful warships, was dispatched to the border of human space with orders to conduct freedom of navigation exercises. Admiral Vox Thorn stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Vigilance, watching as his fleet approached the quantum barrier surrounding human territory. No response to our hails, Admiral, his communications officer reported. Proceed as planned, Vox Thorn ordered. Penetration formation. Shields at maximum. The Council fleet arranged itself into attack formation, preparing to pierce the barrier that humans had established around their territory. A show of force intended to demonstrate that the Council would not be defied. Without warning, the barrier before them rippled, and space itself seemed to fold. Where there had been empty void moments before, a human fleet now existed. 60 vessels of a design no Council intelligence report had ever documented. Impossible, Vox Thorn whispered. They can't have reached this position without our detection systems. His tactical officer's voice was tight with tension. Admiral, energy readings from the human vessels are... I don't. Our systems can't even quantify them. A communication request flashed on the command console. Vox Thorn nodded grimly, and a holographic image of a human woman in a simple gray uniform appeared. Admiral Vox Thorn, she said calmly. I am Fleet Commander Sophia Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You are approaching Sovereign Alliance territory. We are conducting legitimate transit operations in neutral space, Vox Thorn replied, following the script prepared by Council leadership. Commander Chen smiled slightly. There is nothing neutral about a combat formation of 200 warships. Admiral, nevertheless, we have no desire for conflict. Behind her, Vox Thorn could see the bridge of her vessel, clean, efficient, without the ceremonial trappings of Council ships. What disturbed him most was the relaxed posture of her crew. They showed no fear, no tension at facing the Council's most powerful fleet. We could have kept the facade going indefinitely, you know, Chen said conversationally, playing the role of the developing species, accepting your guidance, hiding our true capabilities. But there comes a point where the charade becomes too restrictive. You deceived the council, Voxthorn accused. We protected ourselves, she corrected. Your history with other species made your intentions clear from the beginning. We simply chose a different path. The human commander's expression softened slightly. We genuinely hope for true partnership, Admiral. That offer remains open, but as equals, not as subjects. Behind her fleet, the quantum barrier rippled again, and 5 more human battle groups emerged from what should have been empty space. The message was unmistakable. I suggest you return to Council space, Admiral, Chen said. There's nothing to be gained here except further embarrassment for the Council. 2 hours later, Voxthorn stood before the Emergency Council, delivering the most difficult report of his career. Their technology is beyond our current understanding, he concluded. They can apparently fold space itself for near-instantaneous fleet deployment. Their energy signatures suggest weapons capabilities that would render our shields irrelevant. Could we win a war against them? Councillor Dralkov asked bluntly. Admiral Voxthorn, who had commanded Council forces for 70 years, who had never known defeat, looked directly at the Council. No, he said simply. In the weeks that followed, a new galactic order began to take shape. 23 formerly Council-aligned species had joined the Human Alliance. Trade networks reorganized themselves, bypassing Council regulations. The careful power balance that had survived for 10 millennia was irrevocably altered. In her private chambers, High Chancellor Zixvan, prepared to do something no chancellor had done in living memory, proposed fundamental reform of the Council itself. We have a choice, she told her inner circle. Adapt or become irrelevant. On the newly established Alliance Station New Horizon, Colonel Marcus Chen, now Minister of Interspecies Relations, watched as representatives from 40 different worlds mingled freely, exchanging ideas without the hierarchical protocols of the Council. Was it worth the risk? Asked Admiral Coleridge, who had masterminded humanity's deception for 6 long years. Marcus looked out at the gathering. Former Council species finding their own voice, independence movements flourishing, technology and culture flowing freely between worlds. They expected us to follow the same path as everyone else, Marcus replied, to be shaped and controlled, to surrender our potential for security. He gestured toward the representatives. Instead, we changed the entire equation, not through war or conquest, but by simply showing there was another way. A message flashed on his console, a formal communication request from the Galactic Council, marked urgent, proposal for reformed relations. Marcus smiled. And now, perhaps, even they might learn. Far beyond the politics of councils and alliances, on the edges of unexplored space, human exploration vessels continued pushing outward, their true capabilities finally unleashed. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers yet undiscovered. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars, not as subjects, but as architects of a new future.